Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time Podcast. My name is Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch. Today's special guest is no stranger to interacting with Freddy Krueger. Not only did she kickbox her way to survival in Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, but she was twice directed by the man who brought this villain to life, Robert Englund, both in the cult hit 976 Evil and an episode of the TV series Freddy's Nightmares. She was also on Dynasty, and everyone knows I love soaps. And rocked out in not one, but two different music groups, Femme to Femme and Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs. Please welcome to the podcast, the multi-talented Lezlie Deane.
Lezlie Deane! Woo! Hi, wait, I missed it. Did you say something when we got the names of the bands right?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. Whew. Best names ever,
Femme to Femme. Femme to Femme, that was in the 90s, and we were probably the group that sort of paved the way for, we did every gay pride, we did everything, so we paved the way a lot. We played with Liza Minnelli and RuPaul and what was it? What's the big New York park?
The Big Apple?
Wait, the big New York, like Stonewall?
Yeah, but it was there was the 25th year of Stonewall, and everybody marched into the park, Central Park.
Oh my God. Well, you are on the right podcast. Let me tell you. No. And we are going to get to your music. We have a ton of questions for you, Lezlie, because we are such big fans, but we always like to take it back to the very beginning. And we read that you were born in Corsicana, Texas. So I was just wondering, growing up, did you always know you wanted to be an actor, or what was your evolution to get involved in entertainment?
Well, I always knew that I didn't really belong in Texas growing up. I was a little different. And I don't know. I mean, I tried to do acting in high school and all that, and they're like, "You suck." I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
What? Well, high school plays they're not always fun. They do Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. I just also, they were so big and grandiose, and I'm like, I don't really get that. I'm just always sort of like me.
Yeah, and, you didn't want to play Maria in West Side Story?
I didn't. No, not at all. But I don't know. How it came about was I went out to LA for a vacation, and a man said, "Oh my God, I want to make you a star." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." So I ended up getting in my car, driving out, and second day there, I did a shoot for Esquire magazine. So I just sort of fell into it, and I was very lucky. My first interview was for Weird Science, for the role of Deb and Hilly, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And
I was going to ask you about that. And you got to audition for Joel Silver himself?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, it was really funny because I didn't really know what I was doing. And when I finished, they're like, "Okay, thank you very much." And then on the way home, was it on the way home? Yeah. Because it was a big cell phone, the cell phones that were big bricks that you talk. They called and said they want to see you again. I'm like, "Why did I do something wrong?" And they're like, "No, they want to see you again." So I walked in, and there was this kid sitting on a coffee table and these two guys on the couch. And so, we read the scene, and they're like, "Oh my God, that is awesome. Are you SAG?" And I'm like, "Huh? What is that?"
The Screen Actors
on the way home.
They're like, is that a weird new emotion? Are you feeling SAG?
My tits do not sag. I'm 19 years old. So hopefully I didn't embarrass you.
Oh my God. You didn't embarrass me. Tim is blushing though. I bet I can barely get Tim to say the word boner. Anyway,
I know. I one time we did a podcast, and I looked at him. I was like, "Can I say boner?"
And I was like, "Yes, Tim. We're adults." Anyway, wait. So go on. So they said that are you SAG, and then do they want to hire you for it?
Well, I said, "What's that?" And they're like, "Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you." Blah blah blah. So I get home, and then the agent calls, and they said, "Well, they really, really like you, but they don't really trust that they can put you in a lead role since you don't know what SAG is." So basically, they gave me a one line in the film, and I worked on the film for about 4 weeks, and hung out with everybody, and all that stuff. But the cool, it's sort of have come back around. I ended up getting cut out of it, but it didn't matter. What's the full circle on this was back in October, I did a convention. And Anthony Michael Hall was there. And I wanted to go up and say something to him, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to say anything. So one night late at a bar, it was me and a couple of friends, and he was there with his friends. And one of my handler friends went over and said, "She wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Don't do that." So he came over and I said, "I just want to say you actually got me started, in this. I auditioned with you. And he's like, oh my God. And we ended up talking for like 2 hours. He's really really a cool guy. So it sort of came full circle.
Wow. We had Suzanne Snyder on the podcast who was
right.
Wait, so I got to know, I don't want to shift it too much, but do you remember what like your line or scene was that got cut since we didn't get to see it?
Yeah, it was really cool because my line was, I love kissing in the rain. So the scene was me and a kid in the bed and it's supposed to rain and we make out. Well, they started the cameras rolling and they were just throwing props at me left and right. So it was an improv. It was like, I don't know, 15 minutes of improv. And I remember afterwards, everybody just started clapping and go, oh my God, that's great. And John and Joel walked me out and they're like, one day you're going to be a star. You're just awesome. Whatever. But it was very sweet of them.
And was the guy you were kissing cute?
That I don't remember. I remember his breath. His breath was a little funky, but
don't you love that? Okay, so speaking of other background stuff, we also read that you used to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading squad. What was that experience like, and how long were you involved in cheerleading?
Well, I was one for about 6 weeks. I'll tell you a funny story if you want to hear a funny story.
Please. Oh my God, please. The funnier and the more scandalous, the better. Go on.
No, it does get scandalous at the end, but it's also weird. So, you go through these major auditions to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, right? And I was 18 at the time, and I didn't figure that I'd make it because, I was young and whatever. I ended up making it, and I was just like, how the fuck did I do this? How did I pull this one off? So I just remember walking outside. It was at the old Texas Stadium, and all the media was there and cameras flashing and all of a sudden microphones in my face. And they're like going, how does it feel to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader? I'm like, I'm in shock. I mean, this is just amazing. And I can't believe it, So then I get up and I go and I get my car and I'm driving home and I'm like honking going, I'm a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, acting like an idiot. And then my mom and dad are in Vegas at the time at a convention. And, I'm like going, I just can't wait to get home to call them and tell them I made Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. And also being a little girl growing up in Texas, like our family had season tickets. We were on the 10-yard line, like 3 rows up, it was just, it's like inbred. Yeah. So I'm like running, to go call them and I hear the phone ringing and I pick it up. And my mom's like, oh, baby, I'm just so proud of you. I can't believe, mind you, this is like in 82, 83. I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you made cheerleader. I'm like, how the fuck did you know? She's like, well, we were sitting there playing blackjack. And at the blackjack table, we're watching the thing and Wide World Sports is on. And all of a sudden, there you pop up on the screen going, I can't believe I made cheerleader. Oh, I'm so happy. And
wow.
Isn't that cool?
By the way, great Dallas. I mean, obviously, a Texas accent well because you're from Texas. But wow, wait. So you said you only did it for 6 weeks?
Well, yeah, we were auditioning for the USO tour team. Mm-hmm. You know how they take some girls and they go, and they were having us tumble. And like I was a cheerleader in high school, so I knew how to tumble, but I also threw like my flip flops weird sort of off to the side. I wasn't like a perfect tumbler, but I could do flips and all that stuff. And so the new choreographer, which Texie Waterman was the choreographer for years. And this year it was like one of the ex cheerleaders who was a fucking bitch. But anyway. So she's like, okay, here, come do a round off flip flap back. And I'm like, well, you can't spot me from that side. She's like, yeah, no, you'll be fine. I'm like, no, actually, I throw to that side and I don't want to hit you. No, you'll be fine. I'm like, look, I don't want to get hurt and I don't want to hurt you. So we sort of like had some words. I'm like, okay. And, I was very willful, I'll say, as a youngin'. I'm still willful, but I'm nice now, but I was very willful. So I did my round off flip flap. And then when I'm going to the back, I like go boom and I punch her in the face and do my back flip. So I got cut.
Oh, wait, even though that was just an accident, but did she?
Oh, it wasn't an accident.
Oh,
it wasn't.
You made it look like an accident.
You're like, hey, I told you, bam, as you hit her again. Oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, that is an amazing story.
A great story.
I love it.
But it's I was heartbroken. My mother was heartbroken. The family was heartbroken. But the cool thing was there was an Adam Ant concert coming into town, and I wanted to go so bad, but we had Dallas Cowboy cheerleader practice from like 6:30 to 8:30, 9:30. And I'm like, I can't miss Adam Ant. This is, he was like the new guy, and, the English invasion and all that. So luckily I went to the concert, met him, fucked him that night, and we actually became friends.
You know what?
Not everyone can say that.
If only every hookup could. Are you guys still friends today?
I haven't heard from him since I moved away. But here's another weird story. If you want to hear the story, do you want to hear the story?
Please.
Okay, so whatever. I had one night stand. That's the only one night stand I've ever had in my life, by the way.
I can't say that.
Yeah. Tim, did you just admit to having one night stands?
I didn't say that.
He's loosening up over there.
Oh my God. It's because of you, Lezlie. To get Tim to admit that, we've been doing this a year and a half and Tim wouldn't admit that. So thank you.
Lezlie brought it out of me.
Lezlie did. Okay.
Yay.
So please tell us the other story.
Okay. So it was I feel like I'm telling bedtime stories. Okay, so anyway, so we hooked up, whatever, I got his autograph, I was 17 years old or whatever, 18. I don't want to get him in trouble.
I was gonna say, let's say 18.
I'm gonna go 21.
We're gonna go 18 is good. 18 is good. Okay.
So, I give him my number and I'm like, call me sometime. He's like, yeah. So I walked out of there on cloud nine, whatever. And then all my friends would like fuck with me. They'd call me up and go, hello, Lezlie, it's Adam. Are you in town? They would just fuck with me all the time. And I'm like, fuck you guys. So I ended up moving to LA, right? So my roommate is a Playboy centerfold, Lori. So we're actually driving around that morning. We'd had brunch and we're talking about all the guys we'd been with and, our remarks and all that stuff. And we're, and I said, Adam was like the one night stand I've ever had, blah, 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 blah. So we go and it's a security building on like Laurel Canyon and Crescent Heights. And we're going and we get in and we're push the button for the elevator, and all of a sudden we hear somebody trying to get in, and like we just woken up. I look like shit, we're hungover from the night before or whatever. And Lori goes, oh my God, it's Adam Ant. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, Lori. Stop fucking with me. I turn around, it's Adam Ant and Marco with the couch. So I'm like sitting there going, oh, holy shit. Oh, holy fucking shit. And my mom had told me like a couple of weeks ago, I think Adam did call you. He was in town. I'm like, no, he didn't call, whatever. So Lori lets him in. We're all sitting there and I'm just sort of like going, oh God, thank God I had big O sunglasses on. So we get in the elevator with this couch, and, I kind of look at him. He looks at me and I'm like, hi, Adam. He's like, Lezlie. He goes, I called your mom about 3 weeks ago. I was in town. What are you doing? I'm like, I live here. He goes, I'm moving in. So we fucking lived in the same like apartment complex and we ended up dating for a while.
Oh,
that's
my
so
God.
exciting.
Isn't that
you
cool?
Could look at that as like fate, Lezlie.
Yeah.
It was like, it was synchronicity. So that was really cool.
No, I love that. Wow. I feel like I want to just hear all these stories.
I know. Well,
we haven't even talked about the movie.
Yeah, you're like a major shift in gears, but
so it sounds like cheerleading and Adam Ant were more fun. But growing up, did you like horror movies?
Yeah. Were there any did you grow up with horror? Were there any that made like an impact on you?
I had to go to a therapist for a couple of years after seeing The Exorcist. I slept with my mom and dad in their room till I was 16.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
Also, because my bed would shake. I'm one of those haunted people, like this house is haunted, all that stuff. But, when you're a kid, they're like, no, you didn't see that. No, you didn't hear that. Then come to find out whenever I did move out of the house and grow up, my mom was like, yeah, shit happened in the house all the time.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So not really much of an impact.
Yeah, it's just The Conjuring.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So I'm also a huge soap fan, and you did some time on Dynasty. What was your crazy storyline? Did you have a fun one?
Well, my name was, hold on. It was Phoenix Chisholm, but everybody called me Fetus Jism.
Shut up. I love that. Fetus Jism. By the way,
kids are cruel.
We're doing all the like sidebar questions before we get into your like straight horror stuff. But wait, do you remember what your storyline was? Or
Yeah. I was the gardener's granddaughter who was trying to extort money out of the Carringtons.
Oh,
I remember when I
Yeah.
did that.
yeah, I know. Tim does that with the families he works with. Wow, I love how there's never like a role on a soap that's like, I was her friend at the beach.
No,
You know?
no.
Right.
Everyone's trying
Right.
to get something
There's
from
always,
somebody.
there's always something
Of
really
course.
scandalous. So, okay, so jumping into your feature film debut in 1988, which just happens to be the first of only 2 films that Robert Englund has ever directed, 976 Evil, which is, if listeners have not seen this, you should definitely see it. It is
fun.
about a
Fun.
phone line that possesses people into kind of carrying out all sorts of evil shit. But anyway, how did you first hear about this film, and like, what was the audition process like for the role of Susie?
Well, my agent, they read the breakdown, and I went in and auditioned. Then I went in and with the producers, and it was between me and a girl named Cammie Cooper. And
I know Cammie Cooper, not personally, but yeah.
she's awesome. I love her. She's such a doll.
Wait,
But,
for people like me or listeners who don't know, has she been in anything?
She was in Shocker, right? Wes Craven's Shocker.
You know what? I don't know what she was in. I just loved her as a person.
Let's say she was Cammie Cooper in Shocker.
Cammie Cooper.
She was in the Shocker.
She was in the Shocker.
She was in the Shocker.
She was in with Fetus Jism. She was in the Shocker. By the way, Lezlie, I'm never going to forget Fetus Jism, just so you know. So thank you for that. Okay, so it's between you and Cammie.
Yeah, so we were there for like 3 hours because Robert, was in there, and he kept bringing us in back and forth and trying things. And, finally I got the role, and I'm like, so why, how did I get that? He goes, you improv'd with me, you went off script and you just started fucking with me, which I did. I fucked with him. So that's how I got it.
I was just about to ask you, what was it like working with Robert Englund? But it sounds like you were.
Yeah, but I mean, I think everybody knows him as Freddy Krueger, but like as a director, what was his style like? Really?
Well, yeah, because he's a classically trained actor. So he just really created like a little womb-like space for everybody to feel safe and explore. You didn't feel like you were on any kind of like time crunch. You better get it in this take, or, he really created an awesome environment. He was a great director. He's just a great guy. I love him.
So cool. Did you know, like, were you, I feel like by 1988 you had to be, but I take it you were familiar with his background as Freddy and all of that in horror.
I wasn't.
You weren't?
I love that.
Wait. So when you went for this film, you're like, oh, cool. Hi, Mr. Englund, director.
Yeah.
Don't know who else. Really?
Which is probably a good thing. Otherwise, I've been like, holy shit, that's fucking Freddy Krueger. Or
I
whatever.
know. I'm just thinking, like, if you did know and you're like, oh my God, Freddy Krueger's directing me. No, that is good, I guess. So you got to know him as Robert, not like the guy who plays Freddy.
In this movie, it doesn't shy away from blood and gore. And your scene in particular, you're sitting down to have what is that
it's
called?
Like a TV dinner.
TV
Oh my
dinner.
God.
Salisbury steak.
And tarantulas come out of the TV dinner and they crawl on you. And as someone who's really, nothing much really scares me except for tarantulas. So I have to know, what was that like for you to have tarantulas physically on your arms? And I don't know if they were on your face. Were they on your face?
And were they all real?
No. Some were and some weren't.
How did they film that? How did that even happen?
How many takes?
Okay. You want to hear a story?
Yes, please. I mean, that is such an iconic scene. Tell us everything.
I know. Okay, so like when I'm horribly petrified of spiders, right? So one of the things was I can't have real spiders on me. There's just no way. And they were like, oh, okay. So, we get to that scene that we're shooting, and it's towards the end of the film, right? And Robert's like, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's up? He's like, puts his arm around me. We start walking and we start talking. He's like, well, I think you're going to have at least one live tarantula on you. And I'm like, what? I mean, it's like my eyes started watering. Every hair started standing up on my body because I was just like completely freaked out. He's like, well, we brought a spider wrangler over here for you. And I'm like, what is a spider wrangler? Well, it's a person.
I want that job.
Yeah.
I know. Nope. So I went and met this lady, and she had all these tarantulas in a box. And she first gave me a tutelage of like, they're very graceful creatures that, and if they're above like 8 inches off the ground and they hit the ground, they'll explode, so she's just letting me know about them and how they spit the hairs to sort of warn people off. So, I sort of started my perspective of the spiders changed a bit. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to put one on you. And I was just like, no, please, no. She's like, no, we have to do it. She's like, look, I'm going to take one out of the thing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to stand 20 feet away while you have one crawling on you. Just like whatever it takes, for you to be comfortable with it. So I'm 20 feet away. So I'm watching it. Long story short, I get one on me and it's actually crawling on me and I'm shaking, obviously. But I'm like going, holy shit, I'm having a tarantula crawl on me. This is fucking crazy. And she was really pretty, when you just sort of like watched them instead of go, holy shit, it's a tarantula.
Yeah.
Really pretty. And then, but when she got halfway up my forearm, she started walking really fast. And I'm like, okay, this thing's going to end up on my fucking face. I don't want to slap it off of me. So it like splats on the ground. Get it off of me right now. Get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off. So she got it off. So then I had to go shoot the scene, right? So the scene, what they did is they drilled a hole in the table, right? They put a coffee can underneath that they had taped to that. They shoved about 50 tarantulas down in there. They put the TV dinner over it, cut a hole in that. So, there's 50 tarantulas in there. We're waiting to set up to do the take. And, I'm sure they're suffocating and fighting with each other. So, when I pull that foil off, they exploded out. So, I mean, what you saw was a real reaction on my face. I just imagine. Like, holy shit, and I'm like screaming, holy shit, ah.
That's what I was doing watching the movie.
I know, right? So then we finish it. And, it's like when the stress left, I'm still like shaking because it's just like, oh, this is just disgusting. It was gross. So Robert pulls me over. He's like, Lezlie, I got to talk to you again. I'm like, what? What? He's like, we got to do the shoot again. I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
So this time when they did it, I didn't even sit in the damn chair. I squatted. I think my butt was like 5 inches off the chair, and that's probably running before I even peeled the foil back.
Oh,
but the kicker of this story is, they're like 50 tarantulas. At the end of the night, they couldn't find one tarantula.
Oh, it got free.
So yeah, it got free, and they're renting a house to shoot this in.
Oh no!
So, nice little surprise.
I know. You just wonder if somebody's waking up in the middle of the night and there's like this big tarantula on their face.
Honey, we're home.
976 tarantula. Am I right?
Wait, but so then when you see the tarantulas crawling you, those were the fake ones. Then I guess most of them.
Yeah, what they did is they put freeze dried tarantulas. They taped them on me, so when I was moving, it looked like their legs were moving.
Oh.
Well, Tim, I know what we're having for lunch today. Freeze-dried tarantulas. Thank you, Lezlie. And how did that Salisbury steak taste? Just kidding. No, I mean, it was so creepy. By the way, and I know this is just me. Sometimes I talk about plot details with the actors of the films, and they're like, I didn't write it, Matt. But I just always thought it was so weird that Stephen Godfrey, who plays Hoax in that, is the cause of your death because you're like one of the only people who's nice to his character.
I know.
To me, that didn't make sense. But with that said, for people who are listening, Stephen Godfrey played Evil Ed in the 1985 horror film Fright Night. Right. And we were just like, what was he like to work with? And do you still keep in touch with him or any of the cast or crew members from 976 Evil?
Well, I mean, I run into Robert every now and then. Stephen and I keep in touch online. Stephen's awesome. We've still been trying to find Patrick O'Brien. Nobody can find him.
Oh,
the lead hunk,
the
hunky guy.
Yeah.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know. We love horror connections, and there's so many with people, especially in horror movies in the 80s and 90s that went on to do other horror movies. So that's just a really cool one.
And when the movie's all done and wrapped, what was your first thought seeing yourself on a 35 millimeter screen? What did you think of the whole film?
It was weird because I got really sad when Susie died. I didn't like to look at it as myself. I looked at it as a character, and it was really damn cool. But the embarrassing part was I know my mom and dad went to see it, and my dad was going to see me on top of Patrick grinding, and that was kind of embarrassing.
Well, look, they were still upset about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleading.
Exactly.
So moving to 1 year later, you were directed by Robert again in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares called Cabin Fever. And by the way, for all of our listeners, we have to tell you, this is the coolest thing, but I don't know if you know this, Lezlie, but all Freddy's Nightmares episodes are now available for free on Tubi. And so it's cool because this is something that it was hard to find before, but, so we watched that episode. And
Okay, so your episode in particular, this is another geek fact. It's called Cabin Fever, and the cabin where you filmed is where they filmed Friday 13th Part 3 in 3D. Did you recognize it or just?
I don't know.
You're like, I'm not a nerd like you two.
I know. But it burnt down in 2006.
Okay.
So it's a weird episode because in the first half, you're the flight attendant with this guy, and it's like he has all the guilt because I think his dad's making bad, faulty parts, whatever. And then the second half, you're kidnapped, taken to the woods, and like every guy is horrible to you. So what was it like making this episode? do you have any fun memories?
Yeah, it was female empowerment.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, it was a blast, actually. I mean, anytime working with Robert, it was always a blast. But what I do remember most of all is when I'm having to do all the running in the forest, I actually they wouldn't let me wear shoes. And I'm like, dude, I'm running on sticks and rocks. So what they did is I had pantyhose on and they cut insoles out and put them inside the pantyhose. So at least I had some kind of padding in my feet.
That's clever, actually. That's clever.
Yeah, right.
And what was it like in the first half working with Brett Cullen? Because he's in everything.
Is he the blonde-haired guy?
Yeah, the guy you
I love it. You're like, I'm a big fan. Was he the guy? Yeah, he's the main.
Yeah, he's like the tall, handsome one.
I think he's your boyfriend who's having all the nightmares.
Right, he died on the plane, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't work with. I mean, it was maybe one day, so I didn't really get to know him that well. Yeah.
Well, Brett,
I wanted to meet him.
His dad was making faulty parts, so let's say. But okay, so now we're going to go into what I think everyone either remembers or loves you absolutely for your entry in the iconic Nightmare on Elm Street series, the not so final Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare.
Right.
And so we're just wondering, having worked with Robert Englund a couple times before, did he recommend you for the part of Tracy, or did you have to audition?
I had to audition.
Really?
Yeah. And when I got on set, he's like, "Oh my God, it's you. We get to work together." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to kick your ass, bitch."
Wait, he didn't even say like, hey, Rachel Talalay, like, I've worked with this actor so many times. Can you put her in the part? No.
Hollywood is not like that.
I like that because I got it on my own merit,
That's great. No, you know what? That is totally true. I guess I always feel like it's like
Tori Spelling.
No, it's like, someone is, but that's awesome. So yeah. And so you end up getting the part and then knowing now that you're working with Robert again, like, but now obviously in a very different capacity because this time in front of the camera. How did that, like, how was Robert different in front of the camera versus like the director, or was it completely different experience?
I mean, like in front of the camera, it was just awesome working with him because he's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
That's what I can say about that. And then when we weren't on the camera, it was like, oh, it's Robert, I'm hanging out with him, So
you already had that kind of friendship and relationship.
And I think you answered this question before, but you've never seen, have you seen a Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah. Did you go back and watch them?
No.
Really?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's sort of like sometimes when I do interviews, they say, "Do you want to see the questions?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to see the questions. I want to like really be in the moment with you guys."
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like doing this. I don't want to know what the other ones are like because then my head is going to get into something where I want to go and experience and create from what I'm doing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I actually think that's a great answer because you can experience it. And also, and to get technical, your character in this film isn't familiar with Freddy Krueger at first. So you almost are like playing it correctly if you don't know about the legacy,
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts when you first initially got the script?
I thought this is a character that I could do with my eyes closed.
Really?
Yeah,
because we were talking about how like this film is a lot more comedic in tone than the earlier entries, but your character Tracy is just like, very serious, has a traumatic past,
right?
Very serious character, but that's what shapes her into this like tough, no shit taking fighter that she's become. Like, how did you feel playing that type of character? You said it was just easy for you.
Yeah. That wasn't a big character stretch.
Well, how about
I am a tough ass. No, I'm kidding. No, it was, that's sort of, she was a tomboy and, she'd been picked on all her life, abused, all that. I mean, that was me growing up, not from my family members, but from other people. So, and it's funny, whenever I did do the scene, the no honey for daddy scene, it came so easily to me. And it wasn't until after I did that I started having flashbacks of being molested as a child. So
wow. So then did you feel like this was kind of cathartic for you?
Yeah,
like it was almost like
completely.
therapy.
Yeah, it was completely therapy. And I think, just reading it, and I'm like, this for some reason comes really easy to me, and I think I know why now.
Wow. She's, and also Tracy's a skilled kickboxer, and it kind of looks like you're doing all the moves yourself. Did you have to train a lot for that, or is that you, or a stunt person, or
and did you get hurt?
Right. Actually, I did. In the kitchen scene, when Robert backhands me, I don't know if you can still see the scar, but I got my head split open. Can
oh my
see
God.
it?
We're looking at Leslie's forehead right now. I can't really see it, but
I'm like,
oh my God. Wait, so what happened? He just
it was just one of the moves where he backhands me and he actually connected. And it's like I had to go get a tetanus shot and the not a stitch, but the glue stuff in my head.
Oh yeah.
So I got a souvenir from the movie.
Oh my God. So then did you have to train to learn those kickboxing
Yeah.
moves?
They actually hired a capoeira master and I got to work with him for like a couple of weeks. So that was badass. That was so much fun. I had such a blast doing that.
That is so cool. So then, then are all the moves you, or did they have a stunt person too? Wow.
No, it was all me. We shot that one scene for 13 hours. I mean, it was just like, that was the longest workout I'd ever done in my damn life. But the cool thing was the next day when I got to set, Rachel and everybody they got me a big bouquet of flowers and like a fruit basket of going, you did such a kick-ass job yesterday. It was such a great set to work on. So
yeah, and I mean, and it's so star-studded. A cast including Lisa Zane, Breckin Meyer. I'm going to butcher saying this. Yaphet Kotto.
Yaphet Kotto.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Wow. Yeah. Ricky Dean Logan. I'm saying gold. And cameos from Roseanne, Tom Arnold, Alice Cooper, and from the first film, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
So you were there, obviously, when Roseanne and Tom were there. Yeah. What was their day like?
Oh my God, they were so cool. I got a quick story to give you a background on them.
Yes, please, because I heard they were big fans of the series, right? Like, didn't they request to be in the movie?
You know what? I don't know. Maybe that I don't know. You just taught me something. But we walk into the makeup trailer and they're doing, they're putting the makeup on Roseanne and Tom. And I'm just sort of sitting in the back going, holy shit, that's Roseanne. That's Roseanne. And she is on the phone screaming at these people. And it was a lawyer because they were trying to, this girl was being abused by her family and they were trying to get her help to get her out of her family. I mean, they were philanthropists. Wow. They were really good people. I mean, I don't know what they're like now, but I mean, they were awesome to work with. They were kind, funny, and just good people.
I think it's good to bring those kind of things to light because I think people are so, focused on big headlines, and obviously
they were a tabloid couple.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I'm not going to say, obviously there's been scandals with them, but it does not one act doesn't define your entire personality. And I think people need to remember that. And so it's nice to hear those types of stories from people like that, who maybe people have, I don't know, people may have a negative opinion of Roseanne after all the stuff like that, but people forget.
Well, she's a good singer.
Well, these are human beings. Like human beings have good times. They make mistakes but the same, it's nice to hear stories like that. And that scene is really funny because she's like right up in your face. Like
I know. I love that scene.
And, and speaking of the other cameos, I know you're not in the scenes with Alice Cooper or Johnny Depp, but were you on set when they filmed their scenes? Did you get to meet them?
I was on set with Alice Cooper. Yeah, I got to meet him. Just like, dude, you're the coolest. And I got to get a picture and an autograph with him, which is cool. I wasn't on set when Johnny was there, but I'd worked with Johnny at 21 Jump Street. I did the second episode ever filmed of 21 Jump Street. So,
I'm going to go back and watch it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So you're no biggie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who did you bond with the most in the cast?
Me and Ricky and Breckin, we would travel from trailer to trailer to trailer, all three of us. And then Yaphet, we'd go hang out with Yaphet every once in a while. And yeah, that's who we were, like the Three Musketeers.
That's so cool. And we had talked about briefly, but the director of this film obviously was Rachel Talalay, who produced many of the previous installments and to date is the only woman to direct a Nightmare on Elm Street film. What was her directing style like? Like what was kind of the mood on set as she was directing?
It was just down to business, have fun, do your work. And she was cool shit. She's really cool, personable. She had like her stepson come down and hang out with us. And no, she was just great, and I think she needs to have more kudos. I think she's really like paved the way for a lot of women in Hollywood, from producing to directing and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, she
like
put in her time on that series. She really did. So she, above all, earned it. So your character ends up surviving this film. By the way, you are, one of the only survivors, I think, of like the Nightmare films. And I'm just wondering, did you enjoy kind of being a survivor? Would you have rather gotten to film like a big crazy death scene like some of the others?
No, I'm glad I'm a survivor. And actually, if you do the films, the novellas, the comic books, Tracy is the only sole survivor out of everybody.
Because they've killed off. They've killed off other survivors in comic books.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the little novellas. Yeah.
So look at that. So Tracy.
I know. She's a sole survivor.
So basically,
we're talking to a soul survivor.
No, we are talking to a soul survivor. But basically, so you could come back at any time. Tracy could come back.
Yeah, she could. Yeah.
So when the movie's all wrapped, was there a red carpet premiere?
I think there was. I don't really remember. Yeah, I think there was. And I think we did something at Man's Chinese.
Oh.
For some reason, I'm thinking that he did his glove, and there was a big, Freddy's Dead premiere, and there was a big hoopla about that at Man's Chinese. But yeah, there was. Mm-hmm.
And what was your thought about the 3D, in the last scene? Did you like that?
Yeah, I did, but it was really hard to work with. And they kept saying, be careful with that camera. It's $1 million camera. And you really had to be exact in your movements in order for it to read as 3D. So, but it was cool. I thought, wow, they're bringing something retro back in. So.
And I'm just thinking, because at that time, Nightmare on Elm Street was huge, huge, huge. So it's like, and especially this supposedly being the last film, I can imagine why they did it at Man's Chinese Theater. I mean, like, everyone knew Freddy Krueger. Like, did you know at the time how much fandom was behind the series, or did it take till like later in life?
I think it took to later in life, because we really didn't have internet and all that back then, so it's just sort of like everybody's in their own little world. But now, there's so many Freddy groups and all that, and I akin to like what Bela Lugosi or something, Robert's like the Bela Lugosi of our time, the huge monster man. And he truly is. I mean, yeah, you have the Jasons and all that, but nobody is like Freddy Krueger.
That's true. Well, I have to ask, and I think I already know the answer, but did you see the films after? Did you see Wes Craven's New Nightmare? Or did you see Freddy versus Jason?
You know the answer.
We
right?
know the answer to this. It's a big fat no. You're like, I'm the biggest Nightmare on Elm Street fan now. I own every Blu-ray set. I
got posters on the wall.
Well, so as we're getting to the end, so you participated in the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, Never Sleep Again. And
yes,
during your interview, you're in a very distinct style of makeup, and there's someone there with you at your side. So I'm just wondering, what was the makeup you were in, and who was that person you were with?
That was my dominatrix outfit, and that was no, I'm kidding.
I was totally believing.
Me too.
We were well. That was from Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs. We're actually about to perform, and Pooh is my backup singer. So I'm like, hey, you want to come sit in on this? I know it pissed a lot of people off, but I'm like, I'm doing my life here,
I thought it was entertaining.
I mean, it's I think it's memorable as fuck. Like, I mean, I'm sure people are always ask you about that, but I had to know because I was like, when I saw it, I didn't know. And I thought maybe it was connected to the bands or something, but it's so funny.
I feel like my first thought. I was like, oh, she's part of some group.
I think you should go with the dominatrix. So she was just there because she is just like sitting there, like no expression. It's amazing. Like,
yeah.
Do you get asked about that a lot? I have to wonder.
I do.
I love it.
I know I did. Because I mean, it's definitely different because everybody else is, in the interview by themselves and very serious. And you're like in full-fledged makeup. There's like
blood down my face. Right.
I know. I mean, come on. It is a horror documentary. So
I don't want people in a coat and tie. I mean, I do want people in a coat and tie.
I know. Well, and then again, we want to go back to real quick your music, because like we said, you were in Femme to Femme in the 90s. And by the way, Mikey sent us the song Where Did Love Go, which we loved.
It.
By the way,
Isn't that great?
Oh my,
great
it's just so fun.
Yeah.
And then you were in the glitter punk band, the 2010 Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs. Can you tell us just a little bit about kind of your musical background, these two groups, just a quick bit about both of them?
Yeah, Femme to Femme, my acting manager put it together. He had this brainchild, and he's like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, "I don't know how to sing. I've been told I'm tone deaf." He's like, "It doesn't matter." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And next thing I know, we're touring all over the world, and we have a top 10 dance hit and all that stuff, And then my dad had died, and then my mother was dying, so I dropped everything and I moved to Texas, and I helped her, get through it and pass on. And basically, I was divorced, claimed bankruptcy because of this weird thing. My dad had died. My mom had just died. So basically, if I had balls, they were kicked up in my throat. I was just done with. And that was like in a 1.5 to 2-year period.
Wow.
So I was just like, I got to find something. Here I am back in Texas. What do I do? And I was a national champion speed skater growing up. Like roller speed skater.
You are so talented. Oh my God.
Lezlie Deane's
Wait,
life.
cheerleading, music, acting, like everything. And what else did you do? She's like, I'm a
scuba diving.
You're a magician.
Yeah, I am. I just pulled this out of my ass. So I'm like, I got to find something. And there was a series that had come on A&E about roller derby. So I called my manager, and I hadn't acted in a while. And I called her in LA, and I'm like, hey, I want to be on that. I want to be on that series, because I could easily do that because I know how to skate. And so she called up, and they'd already finished shooting everything. But they said, you know what? There's roller derby teams sprouting up all over the place. And there's one in Texas, which was cool of A&E to give me that information. So I ended up playing roller derby. And I was like the captain, the coach. I was on the travel team. And Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs, my name in roller derby was Scary Cherry Bang Bang. So
that's a good name.
Don't you think?
Yeah, that needs to be a horror movie.
Yeah.
I think.
I know. Yeah, Scary Cherry Bang Bang. Say it 3 times and turn around and look in the mirror.
And then you and the backup singer come and kill the person.
Right. She's on a leash. But that's how that band was born, because Julie Pooh, she was like one of my skaters. I was the captain and coach. Mario, who moved out from LA with me, was the guitar player. The announcer, who was AO from The Edge in Dallas on the radio, he was our drummer. The other announcer, Meat Pie, was the bass player. And then Tony Koch worked at like The Edge or whatever. So we were born out of roller derby.
Wow, that's such a good story. Wait, and so you said you were the lead singer of that band?
Yeah.
See, so even though you said before, you're like, oh, I think I'm just tone deaf or whatever, they're like, you're the lead singer.
Well, for some reason, I am tone deaf, but I can, I see music and colors, and also I can feel where it resonates in my body, so I can get a pitch like that, if that makes sense.
I have a feeling you have a much better voice than you're letting on. I bet you have a great voice.
No, I have a really cool voice, but I mean, when I'm learning a song, people are like going, please just go home and practice. But once I get it, I lock in. So, and
That's so cool.
I know where the pitch is by where it's vibrating, either in my head or chest.
So any chance for a reunion of either Femme to Femme or Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs, or is Scary Cherry still going on, or?
It's going on. I sort of made it die like a year ago, but we have like 16 songs we've been working on. And like, we won like several awards with this band, like Best Rock Song for Independent Music. And like me and my roommate, we shoot all the videos and do all that. Like one of the videos we shot won an award. So I really love doing that. I love like being behind the camera.
That's so cool.
It's cool. And these are just some silly questions that I wrote them up. So you were in the TV series The Outsiders with Robert Russler. Did you guys talk about your Robert Englund connection through Freddy?
He was in a Freddy's?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I know the answers because she hasn't seen him.
No.
Yeah, he was like the hunky friend in part 2, which is like kind of known as like the gay Nightmare on Elm Street one, because it had a final boy, and like there's been a lot of talk about was he struggling with his sexuality and stuff, and he's like the hunky friend and stuff, and you're like,
Wasn't
I've never
gorgeous?
seen him. Shut up.
He was so gorgeous. Yeah.
Still
but see, I
is.
worked with him. I worked with him on Weird Science.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Robert Russell,
you
of
worked
course.
with him twice. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other, were you Tuesday night from Nightmare on Elm Street 4's roommate?
Yeah.
Back in the day?
We lived together. Yeah. Yeah.
You did, because we've had her on the show, and
Isn't
we
she great?
Yes,
Yeah, we
she's
love
amazing. And she
Tuesday.
also does music. I mean, obviously the big song from that. And that's so cool. How long did you guys live together?
Probably for about 6 months. She used to pick on me because I don't know. She used to pick on me, and finally my Texas like attitude came out, and it's just like, bitch, you better back off. And even Dorothy, her mom, who I love, you need to have Dorothy on the show. She's amazing. And Dorothy's like, Tuesday, you better watch it.
Oh, and then you're like, let's be roommates.
No, we were roommates at the time. Because I was dating this guy, so I moved in with him. Then we moved in with them, and then Tuesday used to date him. So she still, had like this territorial thing. I'm like, dude, you got to back off, man. You got to back off.
But the Nightmare Girls fighting them.
I know, right?
Nightmare Girls creating nightmares.
I know.
I mean, shit, Tuesday and I have been friends for almost 40 years.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
That.
Yeah, she
Isn't that
is
cool?
amazing.
That's
she was so much fun. And I can totally see, like, I get that you guys have the kind of the same vibe, just like laid back, chill. Like, I can totally see you guys as friends.
Have you gone to horror conventions, and what do you think? And
like, what do you get asked the most, or do you go to a lot of horror conventions?
I've just started. I think I've done 5 now.
Wow. What do people ask you about the most? Is it the Never Sleep Again documentary?
Yeah, no, it's always like, how was it to work with Robert Englund all those times? Oh, it was great. Yeah.
You should just start saying, I worked with Robert Russler.
Yeah. You should just, or you should be like, who?
Which Robert? Right.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's cool.
So just as we kind of wrap up, like, what are you up to today? And would you ever consider being in another horror film?
What am I up to today? Well, I got to do my laundry. Is that what you're talking about?
I do too.
Maybe not that immediate, but it's like, you said you've been like, you're really interested in being behind the camera and stuff, and like with videos for your band and stuff like that. Is that what, like, or are there other things that you've been up to today, and would you ever consider being in another horror film?
Oh, I would definitely consider being in another horror film if I liked the part.
Awesome.
For sure. And I don't know, I'm sort of at a crossroads right now. I mean, I think
a lot of people are.
Exactly. Trying to figure out who you are again after everything falling apart, but whatever. I mean, I want to get the music finished, what we started with, and I'll shoot some videos and go from there. But then I've come up with several ideas for like jewelry, or do I want to paint? I'm just sort of like, what do I want to do?
I think that's awesome because I mean, it's obvious that
you are how diverse your life is.
Well, I mean, you are obviously incredibly multi-talented. I mean, like, your resume is unbelievable.
I mean, I wish I was a cheerleader.
Well, but I mean, and also
you can be a cheerleader.
I'm really glad that you are coming to convention and stuff, because like your character is from Freddy's Dead is a very memorable, strong, amazing character.
Yeah.
Like when we got this interview, my boyfriend Jacob, who's also our producer, like, he's like, oh my God, I have loved her from that movie. Like, it's just such a strong, relatable, fun character. And so I think it's great you're going to conventions. And I actually would hope someday you can reprise that role. I mean, you survived.
Yeah, I did. I sure did.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing about her too is that's really before a lot of empowering female roles were written. And so, I mean, it was sort of at the beginning. So I think it sort of like paved the way, especially like in horror films. I couldn't imagine me going, oh, help. Somebody help me. I just couldn't imagine myself being like that.
And that's what I think is really cool about your character. Like, I don't think you never are that afraid of Freddy. You're always just facing him head on. And even a lot of the survivors from previous movies, like, they survive, but like you're just fearless in it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, she was.
So we have one final question for you, Lezlie, and I think you've already given us a lot of answers.
Yeah, I don't even know.
We ask this to everyone we interview, and I feel like we're going to get something really good in this. But
again, you told us a lot, so don't feel any pressure.
So what is one thing that you can tell us about your experience working on either 976 Evil or Freddy's Dead that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, or podcaster? Just one thing that you've never told in an interview.
Oh, you have one. Wow. Okay.
Of course I do.
Of course, please.
But don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody, okay?
Well, this is a podcast.
Well,
I know that.
Yeah.
And they can't tell anybody either. Okay. So the scene in 976 Evil where I'm on top of Patrick.
He got excited.
Yeah. And then nothing really happened there. But afterwards, he picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and took me into the trailer.
And
you guys played cards?
We played doctor.
That's a fun game.
So you guys really got to know each other between scenes.
When you do it for real? Meta?
Unsimulated sex? Can I just say he's incredibly hot?
Yeah,
so that was great taste.
He? I don't know. We can't find him.
Isn't that crazy?
Well,
that's a movie within itself.
Wow, that is a great. I mean, it's a very sexy scene, so I can imagine. He
was easy on the eyes. Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, have I just shared way too much with you guys?
No, this is great. Are you kidding? We are so great. Thank you for trusting us with this stuff. These stories are amazing. Like, you have been awesome.
Yes.
I feel like I want to go and get drinks with you right now.
I want to call 976.
I know.
Exactly.
No, but seriously, Lezlie, you have been incredible. Thank you so much for all your time today. And thank you so much for being on our podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're delightful.
Oh, thank you guys. So are you. I'm glad you came out of your shell too.
Yeah,
Tim.
You got Tim talking about sex. Tim, wait, what word did you use before? Did you use a bad word?
I don't even know. I know she said she had a one night stand. I go, yeah. Uh-huh.
Tim admitted on the podcast to having one night stands.
Listen, my grandma listens to that.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't.
She doesn't.
She's like, what's the podcast?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Well, thank you so much. Seriously. And we will definitely be in touch about when the episode's going to come out. And again, thank you again. You've been incredible.
Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. We've got an exciting October plan for you because Happy Horror Time's going paranormal.
That's right. We've got 2 new interviews coming out this month with the 2 stars of the original Paranormal Activity film, Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat.
And keeping up with this theme, our bonus episode for October is a look back at the first 2 Paranormal Activity movies.
So make sure to sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime so you can access that episode along with all our other bonus perks. If we get to 50 patrons, we're going to start releasing 2 bonus episodes per month instead of 1.
And remember to follow all our social pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Happy Horror Time to get all of our updates.
You can also contact us directly by emailing happyhorrortime@gmail.com. We love hearing from listeners.
I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert. And we hope you have a happy horror time.